Yes, guys, back here. Another live stream, another video. Today, we are going to look at the Newcastle game 2 days away on Saturday, February 15th. It'll be 10 a.m. here, local for me over in the USA. Unfortunately, no watch along for this game. I will be on a mini vacation, actually, heading down to Orlando for the weekend to just hang out with my wife and go to some theme parks, have some fun. So no live stream, unfortunately, but I will definitely still watch the game, of course, and put out a reaction video to that as well. So first off, does anyone feel confident? I know confidence is low. I know morale is low. The injuries are piling up. The defeats are piling up. And, I don't want to sit here and just spew stuff saying that everything's going to be all right. Eventually, of course, it will. But for the time being, we are, of course, in a bit of a hole. And we all know that. So confidence levels not super high for the Newcastle game. Newcastle are a very, very good team. They've got a great midfield. They've got a really informed, borderline world-class player in Isak up front. And they've got a pretty solid, back line. Dan Burns pretty good. Who else is back there? Botman's is pretty good. Lewis Hall's had a great season. Tino Livramento's very good. So it's going to be definitely a tough game, and we will see. So I will pop over to the preview screen over here on FotMob just to take a look. Top scorers into the game, of course, are Haaland and Isak. Haaland sitting on 19 compared to Isak's 17, which is very nice. Haaland still up there in the race for the Golden Boot. I think he's a couple behind Salah still momentarily, but you never know. Could catch him for sure. Injuries-wise, according to this right here, Newcastle have some doubtful players. Dan Burn, I have seen on Twitter that he's probably going to play, so I don't know if this is accurate. Harvey Barnes looks like he is out. Lascelles definitely not playing. Joe Ellington not playing, which is a huge miss for us. I mean, what a midfield three they've got when Joe Ellington and Sandro Tonali and Bruno G are all fit and firing together. So, pretty helpful that he at least won't be playing. Then it has Sven Botman as doubtful, but again, I've seen on Twitter that he is likely actually to play. For us, similar story. Rodri, of course, out for the time being. Oscar Bob is listed as doubtful. He's been rumored to be, ready to go over the last few weeks. He had that small ankle thing that's kept him out a little bit longer than expected, but very possible he makes an appearance off the bench this game. Akanji, unfortunate, has an injury in the Real Madrid game midweek. Pulls up, says muscle injury there, so not sure what muscle, but he is out. I've seen on Twitter that they were saying for the entire rest of the season, which, is going to be February, March, April, May, so multiple months. This has it as early March. Maybe that's somewhere in the middle there. I'm not sure, but definitely, Akanji will be, unfortunately, missing some time for a while, which just means the young new signings, Kusanov and Rita Rice, may be thrown into action, and we'll see what they've got. Grealish as well, doubtful for this game. He has that groin injury from the Champions League game as well. Played really well and, only lasted 30 minutes before getting injured. I had thought that maybe it was a head injury and maybe he'd only be out for a few days, but apparently I was wrong. It's a groin injury and he'll be out, looks like a month maybe, which is just brutal for Grealish and his City chances of staying, I would say. So pretty unfortunate there. If you look at the table, we are basically as neck and neck as you can get, both sitting on 41 points, both with a goal differential of 13. We have the tiebreaker of more goals scored with our 48 to their 42. So we are in 5th. They are in 6th. Again, Champions League this season will likely be top 5 due to the UEFA coefficient thing that's going to be implemented. So, this game is huge, obviously. You've got 5th place going against 6th place. A win puts us, ahead on goal differential, of course, and 3 points ahead of them. Chelsea are only 2 points ahead of us, and Forest 6 points ahead of us. But, everyone's still waiting for the Forest drop off. Maybe it comes, maybe it doesn't. So, prospective chances of getting Champions League huge, huge, huge this weekend. Bournemouth also right there, 40, and Villa maybe just a bit out of it. Maybe not. I don't know. 37 points though, so we will see. Of course. There's been a lot of debate about the lineup. What do we do? How seriously do we take this game on the weekend against Newcastle versus how do we prepare for the Real Madrid game coming up next week on Wednesday? And it's really difficult to separate the two in my mind because the deficit's only one, guys. I know the way the game ended was horrible and we were all traumatized and it's awful and everyone thinks the worst outcome imaginable will happen. But it is only one goal. And, I'm not sitting here saying I think we're going to the Bernabeu and we're going to win and overcome the deficit, but I'm also not sitting here saying it's completely impossible. It's definitely a doable thing for a team to go to Real Madrid and win. It's been done this season by multiple teams. So it's possible. And again, I know we are not having a great season and the confidence in the fan base is low, but I don't think we can necessarily just put all our focus on Newcastle, play the full starting 11, and then just, assume we're getting beat. And I'm not sure that's what Pep was going to do anyway. There's no way to look at Saturday's game and not have the future schedule in your mind a bit. I mean, even if you look past Real Madrid, you have Liverpool, then you have Tottenham. So it's a huge set of fixtures we have, as we all know, of course. And I don't think you can just ham out these players who are coming back from injury and just expect them to play 90 minutes or 80 minutes, 75 minutes over and over while we're in these tight races. I mean, Champions League is a must-have. It's an absolute priority for next season, of course. We're going to go into the summer rebuild. We have to have the funds available that Champions League provides so we can attract the biggest players. And Florian Wirtz is one that comes to mind. He's not coming to City if we're not playing in Champions League, of course. And maybe we get him, maybe we don't. But that's just the one example that I can think of at the moment. You also look at it as we are in Champions League now. So, of course, you want to prioritize next season. But, I mean, we got a chance to go to the knockout round this season in less than a week. All we have to do is win one singular game of football. So it's really difficult. Do you play John Stones again and risk an injury where he cannot boss the midfield like he did, earlier this week against Real Madrid? It's a tough one. So with those thoughts in mind, I will pull up the lineup builder here. And let's take a look, see what we can come up with. I have put not full thought into this yet, and I plan to do that right now with you guys. And if you have a different lineup than me or, think my lineup is terrible, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you would do, what kind of formation are we doing. The Madrid game was super interesting. I talked about it in my review. We did something that, I personally have never seen a team do in my life. We had a build-up of 2 center backs and then 3 center backs layered in front of them. And maybe it looked weird because Stones was playing purely as a midfielder and he, by trade is a center back, and that's why it looks strange to me. So I don't know if now that Manu Akanji is out, if we're going to be doing the same thing, because I'm not sure if we, straight swap in for Kusanov, if he is able to replicate that role, this, right center back and a back 4 of center backs moving into midfield here. I don't know if that's necessarily his game or not. We saw Rico Lewis do it, and it didn't go super well. So it's very difficult to me to figure out the back line more so than the rest of the team, without a doubt. In goal, though, I'll say this again. Ederson, yes, you had a horrible 10 minutes or so against Madrid, but without Ederson, we might have been down 4-5 at one point in the game. The guy was really good for the first 80 minutes or so of the game. Pep said so after the game. Ederson was our best player. So, yes, learn from your absolute shambolic, horrible, can never happen moment that, you always have in you. But he's got to play. He's better than Ortega. Ortega is not good enough to be Man City's number one. And if Ederson wants to leave in the summer, he can leave, and we'll have to buy 2 goalkeepers. But for the time being, I still back Ederson. Even with his mistake, I still back him. We need to show some confidence and play him. Now, elsewhere on the pitch, Josko is a absolute guaranteed starter. He has been probably, in my opinion, our best player this season. The guy is absolutely mega. He is world class, and he's like a unicorn type of player. The stuff he can do, it's phenomenal. He can be a center back, he can be a left back, he can be a winger, he can be in the midfield. I mean, he's phenomenal. So, holding this position down, of course. Now, there are other positions that are definitely locks. I don't know why that did that with the face there, but Holland, of course, is going to start at striker. Marmoush, I think, has a great shout to play in this game, as well as Savinho. There is, of course, Jeremy Doku as an option. I am uncertain if he is ready and fit because, as we all know, Doku is basically never fit. So, it remains to be seen if he's ready for 90 minutes. My guess is he is not ready for 90 minutes. And the front three will be Marmoush, left wing, playing sort of the really, closer to Holland than Savinho is on the right. But that's my guess. Marmoush left, Holland striker, and Savinho on the right. Savinho himself, I thought, was pretty good against Madrid. He didn't do a whole lot to contribute to the game, but I also don't think he was necessarily poor in his play. So he remains the starter. The only other option you would have at right wing, I guess, is Phil Foden. There's, of course, Oscar Bob, like I mentioned, but I don't think Bob is ready for a start. Otherwise, he probably would have seen some time off the bench already. So Savinho, Holland, Marmoush is my front three. Now, get to the midfield before I go back to the back line here because I'm still a little uncertain on what I'm going to do back line wise. But in the midfield, I hate to say it, but Kev, you played really hard. I'll give you your credit. You played hard. However, the playing really hard did not translate to much success, unfortunately. And I'm the biggest KDB fan there is out there. He's my favorite all-time player, but it did not really work in midweek. So for me, he looked gassed after 65 minutes, and you can't have that consistently. So if he's gassed at that point, surely by Saturday he's not ready, to give it another full go, and maybe this is a rest game where he can come back into the team and put in a huge performance at the Bernabeu. Maybe not. Maybe he just only has it, a couple times a month. I don't know. But for me, Kev's probably got to hold some bench this game and give Foden this free reign in the midfield here, so we can run that, because I thought Foden was pretty good in the Madrid game, and normally he is pretty good when he does start centrally. He's better than when he's on the wing, right or left, in my opinion. The other midfielder roles, you have a couple of options. I think one option that should be locked in if he is fit, and I'm just going to roll with the guess that he is fit. I'm going to go with Nico. Unfortunate, he had that injury in the FA Cup game, and we haven't seen him since, but he was on the bench against Real Madrid, did not come on, so it was a hip bruise type injury where he was having some pain. Maybe he is, fully healed and ready to go. So for me, Nico starts. Next to him, this kind of decides the back line as well. Do you throw John Stones in again, or do you throw Kovacic here? I guess the other option is Bernardo, but for me, Bernardo probably needs a break. The guy just isn't moving me much, unfortunately, anymore. So for me, this game is huge. I mean, the Newcastle game is huge, and I don't necessarily think that we're going through in the Bernabeu anyway, even though I have some small percentage of hope and belief. So I'm okay if you play John Stones here and, risk him getting injured. But I'm not sure how many times Pep actually plays Stones in consecutive games. So I don't know. It's really tough for me. I think what I'll do is I'm gonna do John Stones again here, and just risk it, and then he can slide into a defensive role if he wants to. And I think him next to Nico is best for Nico. I don't think Nico is a sole 6 as most of the scouting reports I've read say. He is more of a double pivot 6 or an 8 that is able to play 6, which is fine. The other center back that in my mind, are must starts, of course, are Ruben Diaz. He is the leader of men that we all need. Now, you have a couple options here. You could go Nathan Ake. He got subbed off in the 60th minute, according to Twitter. And, maybe that's incorrect, but they said that was a planned substitution. So, is he ready for another start that quickly? I don't know. I'm going to hope and say yes, that he is. So we can see Ake there, because I think this combination of Ake and Diaz is probably the best we have to deal with the threat of Isak, in my mind at least. I mean, Isak is on fire this season, having the best season of his career by far. Very good player, of course. So your best 2 defenders are Ake and Diaz. That's my best hope for slowing that attack down. This right back is interesting because it might not actually be a full-on right back, because with Vardiol bombing up and down this wing here, and then Marmoush cuts in, and it kind of ends up like this a lot of the time, where they're more spread out, which is kind of what I'm expecting here. This opens up the ability for Kusanov, in my mind. I think he's got to start. I don't want him starting as a right back. I would like him starting as in the back 3, where he's the right-sided center back. He does have a lot of pace, can run up and down this wing if needed. But again, he's not the most agile of players, so I don't know if defending out wide really suits him. Personally, maybe he could just kind of rely on some defensive work from Savinho here, as well as Stones, to help him so he doesn't have to get too far forward. And he's just more of a right-sided center back in the back 3 that doesn't do much in advance. Because you also have, for Newcastle, Anthony Gordon here, another player having a great season. This would be a good test for him. See if this is something that he can do. I'm sure they're working on that in training, of course, but there's nothing like live action in game. So see how he does against Gordon. If he does well, the next level up is Vinny Jr. on Wednesday. We will see. If he doesn't do so well, maybe we have to go and change the game plan here and put Stones over here and then Kovacic back in midfield. And even as that's unfortunate, because Kovacic had a poor, cameo against Madrid, it's maybe just what we have to do with Akanji not being able to play this position here. In the Madrid game, you did see the center backs. Now, this wasn't Nico, of course. This was Stones in the middle, and then here you had Akanji, and then the build-up was just these 2 players here. So it was very interesting how they did this. It was kind of like this. Except the Stones was in the middle. This is what they did when they had the ball. And then these guys dropped into a back 4, and Stones stayed in the midfield when we were on defense. Now, this is what I'm saying, I don't expect to see this, because I don't think this fits Kusanov, really. I think he's much better in this hypothetical back 3 that I'm talking about. So that's my guess as to what we do, something like that. Or maybe Gavardio's a little further back, and maybe it's like that. There's a lot of options that are at play, Manu Kanji's injury just limits what you can do on this side of the ball. The other options you have are Nunez, which I don't like in the back three, and Rico Lewis, who I also don't like in the back three. So hopefully it's Kusanov, and he's able to hold his own and shut down the whole right side, shut down Anthony Gordon, and we have some confidence and some hype around the Madrid game next week, because it just right now unfortunately feels dead. So another poor performance loss would really bring down, I think, the spirits of everyone. But a win will shoot us right back to the top, and we'll be feeling good and feeling confident again. So it's one game at a time with, of course, eyes on the future fixtures. I mean, that's how you have to do it. You can't act like there's only one game left in the season, because there's not. There's multiple months left of football. So you got to manage the team and figure out how you can move forward. Anyway, I'll end it with my score prediction. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw, which is acceptable. I'll take a 2-2 draw. A loss would be brutal for our Champions League chances. We still have a chance, of course, but it would definitely hurt the morale and hurt our chances. So I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. Holland with 2 goals. Then let's go Holland with a goal, and Marmouche maybe gets his first goal. That would liven things up, I think. But again, backline tough, so I don't see us not conceding. So 2-2 draw, maybe a 1-1 draw, but definitely I'm looking at a draw for the game. Anyway, that finishes it with my preview here. I appreciate everybody watching, and to leave a like. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I love reading the comments that I get and just having a discussion with you guys on the road to 50 subscribers, which is awesome. We are very close, so hopefully I get that soon. Anyway, I appreciate you guys as always. Big up, City till we die.